Hello and welcome to Northeast Ohio Media Group Candidate Debates. Thanks for joining us. I'm Linda Kinsey. Today we're hosting a debate for Cuyahoga Heights School Board candidates up for election on November 3rd. I'd like to introduce Joe
Mahalski.
Joe
Good Irish name.
Joe Mahalski, Stetson Thacker, and Gary Suchowski, right?
Right.
Okay, sorry. Candidates Sharon Ryakovich and Lindy Sushert could not be with us today. The candidates will introduce themselves in a minute, but first the rules. We'll start with 1 minute for each candidate to introduce themselves and explain why they're running. Then we'll ask questions, giving each candidate 90 seconds to answer and a minute for any follow-up. At the end, we will allow a few minutes for the candidates to ask each other questions with 60 seconds permitted for the answer. So let's get started. You have 1 minute each to talk about yourselves and why you're running. So we'll start with you.
Well, thank you, Linda, and thank you, Northeast Ohio Media Group, for hosting this important event. My name is Joe Mahalski. I'm a 10-year resident of Valley View, and I grew up in neighboring Garfield Heights. My wife of 21 years and I have 2 daughters within the school system. I've enjoyed volunteering with Cuyahoga Heights, everything from second grade, career day with Dad, teaching the excited second graders about engineering and aerospace, to being a member of the Board of Education Finance Committee, where we've worked hard to maximize the value of every tax dollar within the district. I also have 25 years experience as a professional in the private sector as an aerospace engineer. The last 7 of it spent working on value engineering and cost reduction on the largest defense project in U.S. history. I look forward to working for you as a member of the Cuyahoga Heights Board of Education.
Thanks, Joe. Stetson?
Thank you, Linda, and thank you to the Northeastern Ohio Media Group. My name's Stetson Thacker. I'm 24 years old. I've been a lifelong resident of Valley View. I graduated from Cuyahoga Heights High School in 2010 and Denison University in 2014. I'm the next generation of servant leadership in the community. I'm looking forward to giving back to our community because I've had such a great experience at Cuyahoga Heights and beyond. I hope to bring more fiscal responsibility to our community, as our community schools as well, and continue the legacy of my parents. They have both served on the Cuyahoga Heights School Board, and I hope to be the next generation. And thank you.
Great. Thank you. Gary?
Thank you, Linda. I'm Gary Suchowski. I've been on the school board for the last 4 years. Before that, I served 8 years on Brooklyn Heights Council. My wife and I, Kathleen, have lived in Brooklyn Heights since 1975. Before that, I lived in Cuyahoga Heights. The only village I haven't lived in is Valley View, where these 2 gentlemen live. I believe that the schools are the most important thing that bring our 3 villages together. Having served on council, I know there's a little bit of tit and tat going back, but back and forth between the councils, and we always say, well, we'd never do it that way in our village, or we'd never do it that way in our village. But all 3 villages come together in the school district. It's the most important thing to all of us. It's the reason why most people live in Cuyahoga Heights or Brooklyn Heights or Valley View. And because of that, I feel strongly that I need to continue to serve the schools on the school board.
Okay. Well, we're going to get started with the questions now, and Gary, we'll start with you first.
Okay.
Okay, since you finished here last. In 2013, the technology director in your district was sentenced to 11 years in prison for theft of $3.4 million from the district. What safeguards have been put in place, and do you think they're enough to ensure that this wouldn't happen again?
We have a lot of safeguards in place. We've had 3 audits, state audit and 2 private audits, looking at all of our procedures to try to make sure that nothing gets overlooked. We've changed some of our policies, but perhaps the most important thing is people are really paying attention. In the time of during which the crimes were committed, it appears that there was a little bit too much trust. We're a very trusting community. We really are. It's amazing how casual and relaxed we are. It's hard to believe that we're only 6 miles from downtown. But there are so many things in place, it would be hard to list all of them. We have a finance committee, we have an audit committee, the board gets lengthy reports every month. I know a number of board members watch them very carefully. I try to do the same. A lot of people are looking to make sure that nothing happens again, and a lot of new procedures have been put in place to guarantee that.
Okay, thank you. Stetson.
In my opinion, I think our school still needs to work on its internal controls. We recently had a forensic audit that indicated there are still ways that we can improve on keeping an eye on the taxpayers' money and making sure that it's definitely going and doing the best for the education of the community's children. And there's just ways that we can improve. The tech department was really the first place where it was caught, and that's the place where it's worst. But I mean, our expenditures have gone down from $20 million during that period down to $13 million, and our expenditures are still really high compared to other comparative communities. So there's definitely places that we can tighten up, and we can look for make sure that we're tightening up our policies so that we're never going to have an incident like this again.
Okay. Joe?
In addition to what Gary and Stetson said, I think the community was worried about the fact that we could have one individual that could go ahead and issue a purchase order and also review the invoice coming in and issue payment for that invoice. That trail has been fixed, and now no one person could handle all the paperwork. We have other rules in place now where the board must approve all expenses over $5,000, and the other things that both Gary and Stetson have already covered. So.
Okay. Would any of you like to add anything further to that? Okay.
I think something that we should move forward with is line item budgeting in the future. That's not something that is in place right now, so it's something that we should be working towards.
Okay. All right, Joe, we'll start with you this time in the next question. The Cuyahoga Heights District has the lowest property tax rate in the county, $916 for every $100,000 of home value. Does this generate enough capital to fully fund the district, and do you think a tax increase is in your future?
Although the Cuyahoga Heights School District is one of the lowest in Cuyahoga County, it is still in the top 20% in the state of Ohio. We enjoy having that low tax base because it helps attract businesses, and we also have to be wary of our fixed income residents and what their ability to pay is and future taxes. We just recently had in 2012 a 7.9 mil levy, which is a significant tax increase that some people are still hurting from. Mm-hmm. So as a board member, we need to be good stewards of the tax money we have, and that combined with trying to maintain the TPP, hold harmless money, which is $3.4 million that we received from the state of Ohio that replaced the tangible personal property tax phase out. If we could protect that, and I think we will not need a levy within the next 4 years.
Okay. What do you think?
I agree with Joe 100% there. I think we definitely have the revenue now, if we budget smartly, to definitely delay having to raise taxes for at least 4 years. Hopefully the goal would be to get out to another 10 years before we'd have to ask the community for another levy.
Okay.
Yeah, we are very fortunate still. We were more fortunate when we were able to collect the tangible personal property tax. But we remain very fortunate in terms of having a good, solid industrial base and lots of commercial buildings that help our residents pay those taxes, because we don't, as you pointed out, Linda, we have the lowest tax rate in Cuyahoga County. We can control expenses. We, as the tangible personal property tax reimbursement has depreciated, we have been able to cut expenses to keep up with that. In fact, I did some research recently, and 11 years ago, our general fund was only 1% less than it was this past year. And in fact, it's only gone up 1% in the last 3 years. So we've really kept expenses in line. And there is enough money coming in now that we should be all right for several years. But the way the state of Ohio funds schools, it's impossible to go forever without another tax levy. We just have to do it, because the way that property taxes go down, as the value of property goes up, your tax rate goes down. In other words, the school has no inflation built into its income.
Sure.
So that's a problem, and some levy will be coming up someday.
Okay. Not imminent, though.
But not immediate.
Okay.
That's if, it's not imminent, but if we continue to lose our tangible personal property tax, which in 2017, we're going to lose $572,000 of it the way it stands today. There's efforts within the legislature to try to reverse that without vetoing Governor Kasich's. Governor Kasich did a line item veto on the TPP supplemental, which took that $572K out of the biannual. So if we can't maintain that and it continues to decline, we will see where we're going to have a deficit spending somewhere around 2019. It doesn't mean we've still got reserves at that point, but the conversation would be coming up, how to handle that.
Okay.
Right.
Actually, unfortunately, though, according to our 5-year forecast, we're actually probably in 2017 we're actually going to be in the red on our spending. So we're probably going to have to look on ways to tighten things up before that time, so that we can avoid having to go for a levy.
Okay.
Right. The last 5-year forecast does show 2017 where our expenses start exceeding our income.
Right. That's
but
a
that's
complete
normal.
loss of TPP, though.
Right, and that's primarily because of the loss of TPPT. But it's normal. I mean, that's the way school districts work. Is you pass a levy that's more than you need at the beginning, so that halfway through you're about even, and then you spend 2 or 3 years spending what you've accumulated before you ask for another levy. That's just the way all districts work.
Okay. All right. So Stetson, we'll start with you this time. Your district ranks a respectable 52 in the state out of 610 districts, for academic excellence. But some would say there's room for improvement. What's needed to move the district higher in the rankings, would you say?
I think we should definitely look for ways to improve our curriculum, and that's just as a board communicating our values to the community and setting policy for our superintendent and evaluating superintendent so that he's or he or she, our executive key currently, is executing our policy in a way that promotes increased standards and better performance from our teachers and our students.
Okay.
There's always room for improvement. Even when you're number one, you should be doing better next year than you did last year. Specifically in our school district, our only area where we do not consistently exceed all state standards, and by quite a bit, by the way, is science. And fortunately, this past year, we have hired 2 people, our new high school principal, Mr. Matt Young, and our new Director of Administrative Services, who also acts as the curriculum director, Mr. Ted Clares, or Dr. Ted Clares, excuse me. And these gentlemen, along with our existing elementary school principal, Mrs. Joy Houchin, have already, since September, in 2 months, 6 weeks, they've already put together a plan that we're going to have a kindergarten through 12th grade science curriculum, complete revamp, rework, to try to bring that score where we're about average in the state as opposed to well above the rest of the state, to bring that up to the standards of all of our other courses. And that's probably the most significant thing we're doing at this time to improve curriculum.
Okay. Joe?
Yeah, other things I would like to see happen is to bring back the gifted program. This is a program that we had in elementary school to cater to the gifted students. During the budget cuts where we had the technology scandal going on and we were in dire straits, that went away at that time. That not only helps promote the advanced students, but it will help attract additional families that want to have that gifted program available to them. So, and one of the things is with declining enrollment, we want to try to attract and maintain as many families as we can in the area. The other thing I would like to see is our curriculum change toward more of the 21st century jobs that are coming or are currently here, especially in Cleveland. We were a major industrial base, is the birth of our area. Particularly for our three communities, we were more agricultural, manufacturing, and Brooklyn Heights used to be the greenhouse capital of the world, or at least the United States. So we need to look more toward what are we doing to fill the emerging medical jobs that we're seeing coming out of our awesome Cleveland Clinic and University Hospital systems, and some of the other 21st century opportunities for making sure our students have all the resources available to them to pursue what they want to pursue and help Cleveland industry fill the jobs that they're going to have in the future. Thanks.
Okay. Studies have shown the importance of preschool and pre-kindergarten in the development of young children. In fact, Northeast Ohio Media Group and its partners have launched a major, project in this area. And I'm just wondering, does your district embrace these types of programs, and what's offered and what could be offered? And Gary, I think we'll start with you.
Actually, we are at the forefront of that. We've had a pre-K program for as long as I know. Mm-hmm. And it's fully funded by the district. There's no charge to any district residents for transportation or for the program itself. Mm-hmm. It's a terrific program. We had some discussion about cutting it back when there were some budget constraints a few years ago. After some discussion, we maintained it, and we continue to maintain it. We want to maintain it because we feel very strongly that the pre-K program is very, very important. And we may be the only district in the county that has a fully funded pre-K program for all residents.
Okay. That's it.
I personally attended preschool at Cuyahoga Heights and definitely benefited from the program. And I think we should do all we can to maintain our strong program for pre-K.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also a very strong supporter of the pre-K program.
Okay. No argument among the three of
No,
you at all?
no, that one's easy.
That's an easy one, right. Okay. And the final question would be, some have argued that schools are overly test-driven. Are you a proponent of the Common Core, or is there a better way to do things to assess students? What are your thoughts? We'll start with you, Joe.
Well, the Common Core and the testing are really two different things. Mm-hmm. Okay, the Common Core sets the standard that the state of Ohio has adopted. As far as the standardized testing goes, that is a way to measure what where the students are. I'm not in support of a lengthy, drawn-out, standardized test. Okay, I think our students are over-tested. This last year, the PARCC testing took my daughter about 11 hours to complete. Now, I know PARCC has gone away, and we're now going to the AIR or AIR testing, and they're promising it's going to be reduced significantly, so we'll see how that plays out. But I'm more of a supporter of the MAP testing, which gives immediate results to the teachers, usually within one business day. It gives a detailed assessment of the student, where their weaknesses are, where their strengths are, and helps provide a roadmap for our teachers to provide individual education to that child to help them move forward.
Okay.
Personally, I'm not for federal takeover of our education system, but I think our curriculum belongs in the hands of local parents, local boards, local teachers. But I am for higher standards, and I think we should push to raise our standards as high as possible. I don't think that the Common Core standards are as high as they could or should be. And I would agree with Joe that we should look for ways to smartly test our children, not over-test them. And the MAP test would be one of those options. So that's what I think. Smart tests, not over-testing, and definitely raising our standards, but not necessarily exactly what Common Core is.
Okay.
It's a fairly frequent misunderstanding that Common Core is a federal program, because it's not. It was actually created here in Ohio during a convention by a number of states and representatives of educators who put it together. The testing, it was very, very challenging this past year, and it's probably more than really should be done. I will say that Cuyahoga Heights did very well. We were willing to do it online. We were one of those relatively few districts who decided to do all of those tests online. I'm glad we're changing because Park was difficult to do, and it was way too long. So I'm glad to see we're shortening it a bit. But unfortunately, testing standards are necessary, and as much as we can't go back to where we were, so they're going to be with us for a very long time.
Okay. So Stetson, I detected that you did not agree with Gary's assessment about standardized testing being a federal mandate, or Common Core being a federal mandate.
Okay. Common Core is a federal program. Federal program developed by, or not necessarily developed by, but sponsored by the Federal Department of Education. So.
Did you want to answer that at all?
I just read in the Plain Dealer, we've heard of the Plain Dealer, just yesterday, that, who is it? Someone is trying, I can't remember if it's Obama, President Obama. He might be trying to help clear that up, because it is not controlled by the federal government. It was not created by the federal government. It was not controlled by the federal government. Common Core is not.
Okay. Well, we've set aside a few minutes for you to ask questions of each other, if you like. Do you have questions for each other? In that particular?
No, I mean,
okay.
We're a small community. We all know each other pretty well.
All right. Well, then how about if you just take a few seconds and wrap up your candidacy here and tell the viewers why you're running. And we'll start with you, Stetson.
All right. Again, I've been a lifelong resident of Valley View. I graduated from Cuyahoga Heights. I benefited greatly from this community as well as the school district. I'm looking to give back to the school district and make sure that future generations have the same opportunities that I got to benefit from. In addition to that, I think our school district needs to continue to work on improving our internal controls and improving our fiscal responsibility so we don't have to go back to our community and ask to raise taxes and for another levy, especially because we have many individuals on fixed incomes. So it'd be very challenging for our community. I think we do have the ability to lay that as much as possible. Finally, I just hope to be the next generation of servant leaders in the community and make Cuyahoga Heights great again.
Thank you. Okay. Gary?
Cuyahoga Heights schools have been very important to our family and all of our families since they were founded in 1938. My mother started there in 1938, was the first class to go all the way through high school. We were not living in the district at the time when I was of school age, but my two siblings graduated from Cuyahoga Heights, and all three of my children graduated from Cuyahoga Heights. We have three wonderful villages. They're all good. We kind of poke each other, jab each other a little bit once in a while, but they're all great. We all attend each other's festivals, all right? But the thing that makes our communities great are the schools. And I gave serious consideration to do I want to serve a second term, because I'm not as young as I used to be. But on the other hand, the fact that I just recently retired gives me more time to spend there, and I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to a second term.
Thanks, Gary. Joe?
First of all, thanks, Gary and Stetson, for having this discussion. I think it's important to the community that we were here tonight. The things that I want to do, I want to focus on what's important. And there's three major things. One, the TPP hold harmless funding. That is the 900-pound gorilla in the room that will definitely impact our school system if we can't solve that $3.4 million. I will aggressively pursue keeping it, working with Solon schools and also groups that are lobbying to maintain the TPP. Working with the superintendent and administration to improve the curriculum and add the gifted program back, and then also promote harmony within the school system. There's been a little bit too much friction going on between the different groups, between the board, and the teachers union and stuff. We need to all work together. We have enough issues going on with the first ring suburbs starting to get blight and stuff, and also this TPP to have a bunch of internal friction. So I would like to promote harmony within the school system.
Great. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. And thanks again for joining us. And please check back to cleveland.com to read stories about the debates, issues, and candidates for the upcoming election. Remember, Election Day is November 3rd, and early voting has already started.